Hello and welcome to another Bodgit and Leggit video. Now, I don't know what happened at the beginning of this video. I'm just editing it here now and I've lost like 2 big clips at the beginning. Frustrating. We have a 2008 Opel Astra 1.4 and the story was I got it. The car was running really badly. It was missing, the engine light was on, the battery light was on. It was cutting out on them. It was doing loads of weird things. I've been told they took it to a garage and for a checkup, and they said it needed an alternator. So they put an alternator, and all this problem happened after the alternator. And the garage apparently said, "Well, we've done nothing wrong," and then they brought it to me. That's essentially what happened. So, and as you can see, I think I missed in the video, but you can see there's a brand new alternator. But we've got the battery light on and we've got the engine light on. Now, before you do anything, especially when you're doing diagnostics, you need to make sure your charging system is working. If your battery isn't put in the right, if your battery isn't good enough or your alternator isn't good enough, it could be putting the wrong voltage into sensors, which completely screwing it up. So you could be chasing problems, think, oh, we've got a voltage problem, but you haven't. It's the fact that the battery or the or the charging system is no good. So it's the first thing we have to check. And of course, I lost all the footage, so it's just typical. So we did check that, and it is okay. And I think the part you're going to see after this is just kind of me checking it. So that's the story with it. And this is going to be the repair. So yeah, missed the beginning part of the video. Frustrating, I know, but there you go. I did use a couple of them other tools from Hobby Tools, and every time I use them I get an awful lot of questions. So I will leave the link in the description to what they are and where you can actually get them from. And that's really it. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the video. Sorted. So I'm going to be using the Hobby Tool Auto Tester again. So switch it on. Hopefully you can see this. Volts DC, and bang, straight away it goes to red. 9.9 volt. That's it. I'm not going to do any more with this battery. The battery is old. They had complained about it, having to jump start it a few times. It's gone red. It's below 12 volts. I don't care what you say. Once the battery goes below a certain voltage, even if it's brand new, you can charge it up, but it'll never ever be the same, and it'll be damaged internally. I've got to do diagnostics on this because we've got an engine light, we've got a battery light on, and I need to be able to know that we've got a good battery. The system isn't struggling to charge or anything like that. It's not putting loads in. I don't want to put any type of battery charge or anything on it because, again, it's an old battery. We're pumping so much juice into it. It could blow up, essentially. I'm not going to bother. Just replace it. Done, dusted. If the voltage was a bit higher, I might not, but it's old. I'm just going to replace it. So I'm going to have to speak to the customer first. We're going to have to see if we can get a battery, and then we'll kind of go from there. Now, I've got the go-ahead to replace the battery. The other thing I meant to say is we have a battery indicator on here, and it's a white, and it's a thumbs down, so it means it's bad, but that's just because of the voltage that's in it. Now, I know what you may be saying, well, maybe it's there's a parasitic draw or something like that. Yeah, it's a possibility, but again, this battery is still toast, however we look at it. I've got the go-ahead to get a new one, which I've got. So what I'm going to do is I'll whip this one off. We'll do a quick parasitic draw test, and yeah, we'll go from there. But what I do want to do is, because we've got an engine light and a battery light, I want to get the battery system and the charging system working first before I do any diagnostics. Because if the charging system isn't working properly, that could be throwing out sensors. Sensors might not be getting enough voltage, they might be getting too much voltage. It could be loads of weird things happening, and it could just be down to the charging system rather than any problem with anything else. So we need to get our charging system working properly, and we need to get it working, well, properly. It looks very black in there. We haven't got a head gasket problem. No, it's just maybe the way it is. So, let's whip off this battery first. So it's a good idea at this stage to make sure all your connections are clean, and we actually are lovely and clean there. Very careful doing up battery connections with tools like that. If you're not used to it, you can easily break it. Before I connect this, I'm going to do a quick parasitic draw test just to be on the safe side, but I don't think that's a problem, but we'll do it because we're here. Now, I've done videos on this before. I've done 3 videos, so I won't go into too much detail. If you want to see the actual videos, you can see them in the parasitic draw test that I did. And we're good. We haven't got a draw. Now, that's obviously good. So that means we don't have to worry about that. We've other things to worry about. And like I said, I'll link in the description the link to the parasitic draw videos in my playlist. But I just want to get a good battery on here so I know we're starting off on the right foot. Because having the right voltage going to the system is a must. If you've got a problem with your charging system or anything like that, it is pointless trying to diagnose a problem, because it could be the charging system giving them sensors a fault code or whatever it happens to be. So you need to get your charging system sorted first. Just going to use that from the old battery. Just protects it against the bonnet. What we can do now is maybe just check the charging system just to see if it's happy with it. First, I need to obviously make sure it starts. That might be actually the first issue. Does it start? You're doing any sort of diagnostics on your car, it is best to kind of have some sort of battery maintainer or something like that, because it does certainly help, you know, keep the system charged, keep everything, so you know you've got a steady voltage going to everything, and you know that, well, you just know that everything is fine. You're not going to get caught out by a bad battery, a bad alternator, bad wires, whatever the case may be. So yeah, something along these lines. I got this from Hobby Tools. Absolutely brilliant piece of kit. Let's see if it starts. We have ignition lights. And there we go, people. Right, we did have a P0141, which is a O2 heater fault, but the engine light's now gone off. I have disconnected the battery, so I have kind of reset the computer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try, well, I'm going to drive this and try and get it through the cycle. So if there is an O2 problem, it should kind of come back. If not, it was just maybe all down to the battery. So yeah, I wish I kind of showed you the dash now, but I didn't. So yeah, the battery light's now off. So obviously, I don't know, maybe it was overcharging the battery because it was that flat. The alternator putting that much power through, maybe it was coming some sort of fault. I'm not sure at the minute, but I'm going to drive this, try and get this through all its cycles to see if we can maybe come up with another fault. If not, yeah, that's kind of it fixed. So I was hoping for more of a juicy one, but it just goes to show, if that is the problem, just having a bad battery, put our engine light on, put a fault in an O2 sensor, and also put the battery light on. So there we go. Now, I don't know if you can hear that, it is struggling now. There's kind of a fish bite miss on that now, so maybe we're not out of the woods yet. I'm going to have to drive this and let it warm up and see what it does. I don't know if that's coming through on camera. Put the microphone a bit closer. There is definitely a fish bite missing there now, so we're not out of the woods yet. Let's see what happens after I heat this up. Right, so what I want to do now is I want to check to make sure that the actual voltage drop test of the battery and the starter motor and the alternator, I want to make sure everything's good before I continue with anything, to make sure the charging system is okay and the starting system is okay. So what I'm going to do, you can see we've got a special setting on this tester. I have done a full review on this. And there we go, we're starting off, that's our startage off voltage. I'm going to start this and let's see what happens. Okay, so we've gone green. Like I said in the, I know that actually doesn't look green on camera, or does it? Oh, let's try and get it in focus. Hopefully you can see that. 11.1 volts. So that means we're okay. It's gone green, so the machine is telling us the voltage drop is okay. We haven't got an issue. What I want to do next is, oh, there you can see it a lot better now. What I want to do next is actually do a voltage test to make sure our actual charging system is working. As you can see, we're green, so that means the battery is fully charged. Again, you'll see it in the full review I did, but let's just turn everything on and make sure we're all good. So we've got our lights and everything on, and as you can see, we're still 14.5 volts. So we know our alternator is good, we know everything is good. Now I can kind of get on with the diagnosing, because I know that we're all good to go. Sorted. Right, this is where it pays to have a slightly better diagnostic system, because when I plugged it in originally, just before Christmas, it just came up with these exact two codes, but it just said the same thing. This now says open circuit and malfunction, so it looks like we do have a broken wire, hence open circuit. They do kind of give you a direction, so it's always good to look at these just to see open circuit, possibility we're looking at a broken wire rather than a dodgy sensor. Now that's just on a glimpse, never go off that, that's just kind of a glimpse. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into live data and we're going to see what we've got, get O2s up and just see if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. We'll go custom, deselect. Right, so what do we want? I want battery voltage. I want, where are we looking? Coolant temperature. Before cat the heater and after the cat, but I'm also looking for the actual O2 sensors before and after as well. That will just tell us if the car can see the heater on or off. So let's go to list view. Right, so we're at 12.5 volts, that's okay. We're at 68 degrees. That's because I did take it for a quick drive. Hopefully you can see that. Right, heater circuit, inactive, and then we've got our voltage at the two sensors. Let's start this up and see what it does. One more thing we can get, if it's here, is there a close and open loop PID. Where does that go? That's there. Okay. Right. We can see our before the cat. It is active. We can just see it switching there. Oh, we are switching. Okay, kind of wasn't expecting that one to switch. Or it's trying to. Just let this heat up a bit more because we're only at 66 degrees, which isn't enough. So just let this heat up a bit more, I'll give it a bit of a rev and we'll see what's happening. What I'll do, rather than you kind of watching this, I'm going to heat this up first. I'll turn the camera back on and we'll see kind of where we're at once it's heated up. Right, as you can see, I'm not worried about the actual switching yet, so just ignore these numbers. What I am worried about is we can see we do have an active on bank 1 before the cat, which is okay, but as you can see we have an inactive after the cat. Now it does kind of flicker, but that could be because the exhaust is heating it up more so than the sensor itself heating itself. So I just wanted to catch this before the engine got too hot, because there's a possibility once the engine gets up to temperature, this could kind of work because the exhaust is hot enough. It could kind of kick it into life. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to leave it, I'm going to let this warm up fully. We'll turn the camera back on, but it looks like we are going after the heater. Now, we still could have a problem with the sensor, because if this heater's been bad for a while, the sensor might not been working, and the sensor still could be bad, but just putting a sensor in, if there's a broken wire, isn't going to sort this issue. So we're going to have to repair the wire, and then we're going to have to see if the sensor kind of comes back to life. So let this heat up properly, and we'll kind of go from there. Lovely jubbly. Right, okay. We're definitely up to temperature. Kind of ignore that a little bit. Don't worry, it's not overheating. It's a pressurized system. They do get that hot. It's flickering. It's just not. The other one has activity on it. This one just kind of doing nothing. Don't get me wrong, this one is flicking, but as you can see, this one's doing nothing now. So what I'm going to do is, I can't get it on the lift, which is an absolute nightmare, because the car's stuck on the lift at the minute. So I'm going to have to jack this up. I'm going to go underneath, and I'm going to see if I can physically see anything broken first, before I start trying to do any back probe or anything like that. I'm going to physically see if I can see any wire broken. If not, we'll start back probing and go from there. So I'm going to shut this off, let it cool down for a few minutes. We'll turn the camera back on. If I get underneath the car, if I do see anything, I'll bring the camera with me, and if not, we'll have to start back probing and seeing exactly what's going on with this baby. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this O2 sensor up here, and I'm going to show you what I'm doing underneath on this one. I can't show you underneath because it's just going to be too awkward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook the one underneath to the oscilloscope, and we're going to start seeing what it's doing. But I'm going to show you on this one exactly what I'm doing. Now, this is a 4-wire O2 sensor, but as you can see, 2 of the wires are white. Now, what you'll find is either 2 of the wires are white and 2 of the wires are black. That's your heater circuit. So all I'm interested in on the one underneath is these 2 white wires here. And all I'm going to do is back probe them, and I'm going to bring them directly to the oscilloscope. That's it. So I said I'd show you on this one, because this one's easy to see. I'm going to connect the ones underneath. I'll put you back onto the oscilloscope and we'll see exactly what's going on. We should have voltage going to one of them, battery voltage going to one, and the other one is controlled by the computer. The computer turns it on whenever it needs to. So what we're going to do is we are going to test it to make sure we have voltage. If we haven't got voltage, well then we know it's not an actual sensor issue, it's a wiring issue. If we do have voltage, then it looks like it's going to be maybe a sensor issue. We can then do an ohms test on it, and we can actually see, is it a sensor, is it wiring issue, is it ECU problems, or whatever the case may be. We're going to kind of track it down. So that's what I'm going to do underneath. Once I get all that done, you'll see it on the old scope, and yeah, sorted. Now, just so you know, because I get a lot of questions about this, this is the kit I am using. This is the electrical kit from Hubby Tools, which has all my connections and absolutely everything. This has got all my back probes and my connections. So this is the kit I'm using to connect to the O2 sensor. It's an awesome bit of gear. I've got it hooked up on the bottom like I said. So we're going to now see what we're looking at. We need 2 channels. Oh, just turn that one off. Where's my pen? Need me pointy stick. We need to change that to 20 volts. Okay. Change the seconds. Now, there we go. As you can see, we have 2 channels, both at 0 volts at the minute. I'm not sure, yellow, well, they're both on the white wires. I'm not sure which is the power yet, but let's turn the ignition on and see if we've at least got power to one of the wires. Right, ignition is on. There we go, that looks good. We got some voltage in both wires. We do have battery voltage in one of them, so that's good. Let's start this now. Now, as you can see, it's taking it down. Our yellow trace is at battery voltage, which is absolutely perfect. But our green trace is being pulled down. That should be going up. We should be getting a spike in voltage rather than going down like that. Right, so that's just not right. It's pulling it down where it should be actually going up to battery voltage and coming back down again. Almost like a square wave. So the ECU is doing some sort of control, kind of turning it on and off, turning the heater circuit on and off. The computer is just doing nothing here. It's just grounding out. It's just not doing anything. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to do an ohms test on the sensor. The reason is because if that comes back as open circuit, then boom, we know. We could have a problem in the connection or the wiring going further up, but if I now do an ohms test on the actual on the actual O2 sensor, that will tell me, you know, whether to look for a broken wire. What I might just do for shits and giggles, I'll connect it to the good one so you can see what it should be. Now there we go. Let's just change the time basis here so we can get a bit more into it. There we go. So there you can see it's switching on and off, which is what it's supposed to compared to the one we've actually got. So that's what it should look like. And as you can see, we're essentially dead on our one. Let's plug this back. And there you go, it's getting even worse. Oh, actually, I did zoom out, didn't I? Let's go back in, we should see more or less, yeah. There we go. We see more or less the same pattern again. So I'm going to do an ohms test on this, see what it reads. But it's looking like it's an open circuit. It's looking like the actual O2 sensor itself is faulty. Just going to move the leads over. We'll calibrate them now. Boom. Now, let me connect it up again and see what we've got. There we go, people. Open circuit. Yeah, it just doesn't know. It doesn't know what to do. Should be a nice steady. What we'll do is let's do it on the known good, just so we get an idea what it should be. I think it should be around 12, 13 ohms, in and around there, if memory serves. Yeah, there we go, around 13, like I said, 12, 13. As you can see, that's nice and stable. It's not going all over the shop. There we go, boom, bang, sorted, whatever. New O2 sensor. There we go, lovely jubbly. Now I've got to tell the customer, price it up, and let them tell me what they want to do. Sorted. Okay, we are back. I have the parts I need for this. I've got a Bosch O2 sensor. The original one, or the OEM one, was 150 euros more than this one. So the customer went for this one, which is fair enough because it's a lot of money. This is a made in Germany Bosch one. It's not the cheapest one, so you know it is a good one. I've used Bosch before, never really had a problem. It has the proper connector on it, so we're not having to cut wires, because that's when you really start getting messy. Has the proper connection, you know, great job. Now you do have to be careful with these O2 sensors, and what I mean by that is, when I close it, you'll see there's a special tag on it and on the bottom. Once you cut it open, that's it, it's yours. So you need to make sure it's the right one. Now, let's say it's the wrong one and it was the motor factor's fault or anything, and you show them, look, I still want it, but I want the other one. That's okay. But if you messed up, that's when it's a problem. Or if you try and use this and it doesn't work, they're going to know you've put it on and it doesn't work. And I just dropped the old one. So there we go. Now, we're going to stick this on. Can't show you because the car is on the floor, because someone's stupid rally car's on the lift. So we're doing it on the floor. Depending on where you are in the world, these can be an absolute nightmare to take off. I tend to use these because they're absolutely fantastic. These are a beta one, and the number on this one is 376/410. They're absolutely fantastic. You can use them for a lot of things. I use them for pushing up brakes, absolutely everything, unreal. And it gives a really good clamp around it, and it allows you to take it off. A lot of the times these do seize, you have to heat them up and it's an absolute nightmare. I do find if you turn the car on, let the car kind of get up to temperature, that can help. It can help, but it's not necessarily your answer. The downside to it is the exhaust and everything is hot, and you can burn yourself quite easily and badly, so be aware of that. Another thing I've noticed, not doing it now because I dropped it, but I could hear little balls floating around, but now I've dropped it, I can't. But anyway, there's the old one. We're going to put the new one in. We're going to put it on the old scope again, see if we get the correct pattern, reset the light, take it for a driving cycle, make sure the light stays out, make sure the car is happy, and that's it. Job done, sorted, lovely. So once I get this plugged in, and I get all the wires and everything set up for the old scope, we'll turn the camera back on and we'll see what it's like. Lovely. Right, now, the engine is, well, it's more or less cold. It's not particularly hot or running temperature. I've got it set up, same as yesterday, and let's see what happens now. And nothing. I obviously haven't got it plugged in properly. I'll get this plugged in properly and we'll try again. Right, there you go. Just to confirm the fix. Now I'm not revving it up, it's just ticking over, but as you can see, completely different waveform to this one here. This is the old O2. And there we go, absolutely perfect. Sorted, bang on. So we know this was the problem. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to wipe the codes, and I'm going to have to take it for another drive cycle, let the computer go through it, just to make sure it's happy, everything is happy. If the engine light doesn't come back on, we know we're good to go. So I'm going to do that now, clear the codes, take it for a drive, let it do what it needs to do, and we'll turn the camera back on and see where we're at. Lovely. Right, this is where a scope kind of comes into its own. I don't know if you remember from the previous scan data, it did look like sometimes this was activating. So if you was kind of look at it quickly, you would see it flash up activating, and you'd think, okay, so the O2 sensor is working. But when we got into the actual reading of it, you could see the difference. Now, granted, from the first one, we could see the first one was activating and staying on a lot longer. But let's just say you brought up the PID for the second O2 sensor or lambda sensor, whatever you want to call it. That's where you can get stuck very quickly. That's where a scope, when you can see a live reading, a proper live reading, really does come into its own. It's just you can get caught very quickly off reading data PIDs. We had both O2s up at the same time, so we could see, but like I said, sometimes if you only pick one for whatever reason, and you see it says activate and you turn it off and think, oh, that's okay, we must have another issue. And as you can see, we didn't. So that's why it's very important to kind of get some lovely sexy waveforms. So I'm going to take this now for a drive and let's see what happens. Right, so there we go, no more lights. Took it for a drive. It's been on long enough to go through a cycle. If there was a problem, the engine light would be back. No problem, lovely, sorted. So look, there you go. Hope it helps. Thumbs up, subscribe, all the usual. Don't forget, links up here, links down there, but most importantly, don't forget, get your hands sorted. Get your hands sorted, get your hands dirty. Sorted.